So that's the structure of the system. But what is an ID? And this is really important, I think, because this affects what I'll talk about in a minute, which is my view on whether you should have folders in your IDs or not. An ID for me is a thing, and a thing is anything. It's a job, and again, you might not be at work. Doing your tax returns is a job at home. Booking a trip, as far as I'm concerned, is a job. It's a task. It's a thing you have to do. It's an encompassing unit of stuff. It's your tax return. It's a reference to some things. It could be a meeting at work. I have IDs for specific meetings, and then I keep the minutes in them. An artifact is something, right? So that's what an ID is. And so, for example, let's look back at Susan's life. What were the examples I was going to look at? So, spreadsheet of pupils and payments, I think, is a good example of one of the things where that's a thing. When Susan goes to book a new pupil, see if a pupil has paid, this is one spreadsheet. She manages them all. This is where she needs to be, and she knows it is. So she's in her teaching category, doesn't have a number yet, and then she's in spreadsheet of pupils and payments. Now, for me, this is one of those classic cases where this might be a Johnny Decimal ID with one thing in it. You get to the folder, we'll see these folders in just a moment. You get to spreadsheet of pupils and payments. That is a folder in Johnny Decimal world, and in that folder is one thing, and there's an Excel file called spreadsheet of pupils and payments. She might end up putting other things in there, but I doubt it. One thing, one folder. That's cool. Contrast with, for example, her company finance. It might be the case that when she does her company tax returns, which is a thing, it's the thing to do. I'm sitting down, what do I have to do? Okay, boring chore, I'll do my company tax returns. That's where she is. So company tax returns is an ID. It's a job, it's a task, it's a thing. And in that folder, you might have a whole bunch of different artifacts. You might have all the receipts you've collected. You might have multiple places where these things are. You might create an email folder in your email for company tax returns, and all of the emails from your accountant about this year's tax returns go in there. And you've got a folder on your file system with the same ID. And you might have a note in your notes system, because you might just want to keep quick notes about things that you're doing as you prepare your tax returns. But the doing of the tax returns is one ID. It's a thing. The question here, this is quite a natural one for, well, okay, let's imagine company tax returns. Let's say it's 2023. Company tax returns is 11.11, right? Just pick simple numbers, 11.11. So is 11.11 that my company tax returns for 2023? And then next year, I've created a few more IDs, and so I'm up to 11.18, and 11.18 is company tax return 2024. And then I've created a few more IDs, and then company tax return 2025 is 11.26. Or is 11.11 my company tax returns, and in there, do I put a folder called 2023, and in that put all of this year's stuff, and then another folder called 2024, 2025? The answer is I don't particularly care. In this case, I do the first thing. I personally have a folder for each year because my finance folder is not very busy. I mentioned last time, I don't have that much going on, right? So I've just got a tax return every year, and that's pretty much it, right? But you might have a very busy finance folder. Yours might feel like it might get full, and you might think, oh, I don't really want to create a new ID every year. You might just prefer remembering that 11.11 is your company tax returns, and you might prefer having a year structure in there. I don't think that matters, because the point is, when you go to do your company tax returns, can you find them quickly with no stress and with confidence that you know you're going to go to the right place? And that's the key about Johnny Decimal. That's what you're trying to design here. Something that you can find anything quickly and with no stress. So however you need to do that, the details down at this level are a little bit flexible. Whatever works for you is what you should do. And then let's have a look in some of these finance folders. So here's one where we do have an example of company tax 2023. Let's have a look in here. Here is another one where I let me step back a minute. I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to talk about it again. I have mentioned it already, but the concept of folders in a Johnny Decimal folder, because the website currently explicitly says not to do this. The workbook says not to do this in the very section you've just read, but I did note that my stance has softened. And this is why, this is how. It's fine to have some folders in folders, okay? Because what have we got here? We've got some receipts to claim, we've got the tax return, and we've got some end of financial year certificates for tax, for share trading. This is not chaos. There's no worries about being organized in here. Now, if I would say as a general rule, if it fits in one window like this, then you're okay. If there's no question at all, if there's, again, no stress, no worries about finding your thing, you're okay. But don't let this get out of hand, is the point. Because here's another example. Let's have a look at annual statements. Here's one where I've gone with this concept of the years, right? Annual statements, 2021, 2022, 2023. These are just a thing you get if you have a company. You just have to deal with them. They come from your accountant, you sign them, you send them off. Happens every year, regular as clockwork. Note what I've done, and I will tell you now, my accountant does not send me the same file name every year. It comes through in a different format every single year. And I format them. That's an Australian company number. I've just made that one up. I reformat them so that they all read exactly the same. And if they were just in one folder, that actually wouldn't matter, right? Because they've all got the year in them. And in fact, that would work. I'd be okay with that as well. But a simple year there doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt anything. I'll show you a real example here. Is it 3301? Okay, this is my actual company. And in Australia, we have a thing called a business activity statement. It's an end of quarter thing that you just have to fill in. And there's mine. I get one. I used to do them every month. There's a thing. Sometimes it's an installment activity statement. There's a thing that I get every month, and it comes in from my accountant, and I just have to sign it and send it off. And I've got year-month, which sorts nicely. And then inside, I've renamed every file to read exactly the same. But they're all in one ID. Because the task of completing my monthly activity returns is the task. And I didn't, I'm not going to, how many of these have I got? These go back years. They're less organized the further back we go, but let's just scroll up. Look at that. There's no point creating an ID for every one of those. That doesn't make any sense.